You won't believe this. The golden age of Hollywood, that glittering world of red carpets, champagne, and flashing cameras, was hiding shadows darker than any film noir ever made. For every dazzling smile on screen, there were tears in private. For every Oscar-winning performance, there was a broken contract, a hidden betrayal, or a death that came too soon. The studios fed audiences dreams, but behind closed doors, they were orchestrating cover-ups that would leave even today's scandals looking tame. Tonight, we expose 10 of the darkest scandals that shook Golden Age Hollywood to its core. #10. Fatty Arbuckle. The scandal that killed silent comedy. Roscoe Fatty Arbuckle was once the king of silent film comedy, rivaling even Charlie Chaplin. By 1921, he was earning millions, adored by fans, and shaping Hollywood's future. Then came the infamous Labor Day party at the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco. Actress Virginia Rupp collapsed, and days later, she was dead. Tabloids accused Arbuckle of assault, with lurid headlines describing him as a monster who crushed her with his weight. 3 trials followed. In the end, Arbuckle was acquitted, even receiving a written apology from the jury. But it didn't matter. His films were banned, his contracts canceled, and his reputation destroyed. The tragedy wasn't only Arbuckle's downfall, it showed how fast Hollywood could sacrifice one of its own to protect its image. Silent comedy lost its biggest star, and Arbuckle spent the rest of his life in the shadows. #9. Judy Garland. Hollywood's child star prisoner. Judy Garland enchanted the world with The Wizard of Oz. But behind the rainbow, her life was anything but magical. MGM executives saw her not as a child, but as an investment. They kept her on strict diets, shaming her body constantly. To control her weight and stamina, they gave her pills uppers to keep her awake, downers to make her sleep, and diet pills to keep her slim. This cycle created a dependency before Judy was even out of her teens. By the time she became an adult star, she was already trapped in addiction. Failed marriages, financial ruin, and repeated breakdowns followed her like a curse. Her haunting story revealed the truth. In old Hollywood, even a child wasn't safe from exploitation. #8. Thelma Todd, Death in the Garage. Thelma Todd, nicknamed the Ice Cream Blonde, was beloved for her comedic sparkle. But off-screen, she was ambitious, opening a successful cafe on the Pacific Coast Highway. On a December morning in 1935, she was found slumped in her car, dead from carbon monoxide poisoning. Officially, it was ruled an accident. Maybe she had stayed in the garage too long with the engine running. But rumors swirled. Some whispered it was suicide. Others suspected foul play tied to gangsters, jealous lovers, or disputes over her restaurant. Hollywood insiders believed she knew too much, and her sudden end was no accident. To this day, Thelma Todd's death remains one of Hollywood's most chilling mysteries, the glamorous blonde who went to sleep in her car and never woke up. #7. Jean Harlow. The blonde bombshell's cursed love. Jean Harlow was the original blonde bombshell, lighting up screens in the 1930s, but her personal life was haunted by scandal. She married MGM producer Paul Byrne in 1932. 2 months later, Byrne was found dead, a gunshot wound to the head. A note beside him hinted at impotence, but whispers suggested murder. Some even said Harlow was involved. The studio rushed to cover the story, sending fixers to manage the press. Hollywood pretended to mourn, but behind the scenes, MGM worked harder to protect its brand than to protect its stars. 5 years later, at only 26, Jean Harlow herself was dead from kidney failure. MGM tried to hide the severity of her illness until the very end. Her early death left fans stunned and proved how disposable even the brightest stars were to the system. #6. The Black Dahlia. Hollywood's most famous unsolved murder. In January 1947, Los Angeles police discovered the mutilated body of Elizabeth Short in a vacant lot. She was just 22, an aspiring actress with dreams of stardom. Her murder was brutal. Her body cut in half, drained of blood, her face slashed. Newspapers sensationalized her death, dubbing her the Black Dahlia. What made it worse was the speculation was her killer a doctor, a studio insider, even a policeman. Dozens of men were questioned, but no one was convicted. Elizabeth Short never got her chance at fame. Instead, she became a legend of horror, her name forever tied to one of Hollywood's darkest chapters. 5. Montgomery Clift, the longest suicide in Hollywood. Montgomery Clift was called one of the greatest actors of his generation, handsome, sensitive, a rival to Marlon Brando. But in 1956, everything changed. Leaving Elizabeth Taylor's house one night, Clift crashed his car into a telephone pole. His face was shattered, requiring painful reconstructive surgery. The studios no longer saw him as marketable. Clift spiraled into depression, alcoholism, and prescription drug abuse. Though he continued acting, he was never the same. When he died in 1966 at just 45, a friend described his decline as the longest suicide in Hollywood history. 4. Joan Crawford, from star to villain. Joan Crawford was the definition of old Hollywood glamour. With an Oscar and decades of success, she seemed untouchable. But after her death in 1977, her daughter Christina shattered her image with the book Mommy Dearest. In its pages, Crawford was painted as abusive, controlling, and violent. Christina claimed she was beaten with wire hangers, starved, and emotionally tormented. The revelations divided Hollywood. Some defended Joan. Others said they had seen glimpses of the truth. The scandal permanently tarnished Crawford's legacy. Instead of being remembered as a screen goddess, she became a symbol of Hollywood's hidden cruelty. 3. Rock Hudson, the secret life of a leading man. Rock Hudson was the ultimate leading man, tall, charming, every woman's dream. But behind the scenes, Hudson lived with a secret Hollywood forced him to hide. He was gay. Studios arranged fake relationships to protect his image. Hudson played along, knowing his career depended on it. But in 1985, he became one of the first major celebrities to reveal he had AIDS. The world was shocked. Suddenly, the heartthrob of the 1950s was the face of a disease society feared and misunderstood. His announcement forced Hollywood and America to confront both its homophobia and its hypocrisy. 2. Errol Flynn, Robin Hood, on trial. Errol Flynn was Hollywood's swashbuckling hero, immortalized as Robin Hood. But in 1942, his reputation was shattered when two underage girls accused him of statutory rape. The trial was a circus. Flynn's lawyers attacked the girls' credibility, painting them as liars. The jury acquitted him, but his image was forever stained. Instead of retreating, Flynn leaned into his scandal, joking about it, even flaunting his reckless lifestyle. But behind the charm, he drowned himself in alcohol and debt. By the time he died at 50, he was a shadow of the hero fans remembered. 1. Marilyn Monroe, Hollywood's most enduring mystery. Marilyn Monroe was more than a star, she was a symbol of Hollywood itself. But her death on August 5, 1962, shocked the world. The official story: she overdosed on sleeping pills, but the details never lined up. Conflicting testimonies from her housekeeper, doctor, and friends fueled endless speculation. Add her rumored affairs with President John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy, and theories exploded. Was it suicide? An accident? Or was she silenced to protect powerful men? 60 years later, Marilyn's death remains Hollywood's most enduring mystery, the tragic end of a woman who embodied both the dream and the nightmare of stardom. And there you have it. 10 scandals that stripped the glitter off Hollywood's golden age and revealed the shadows beneath. They remind us that behind every camera flash was a carefully built illusion. Studios sold audiences a dream, but behind closed doors, they were hiding nightmares. And here's the haunting question. If these scandals managed to come to light, how many darker stories were buried so deep that we may never know the truth? Because in Hollywood, the lights may dazzle, but the shadows always tell the real story.